Welcome back to Rodecast, guys. Hope you're doing well out there. I'm your host, Rod, as always. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the raids that are happening in Chicago as part of the immigration operations that are going on there that the left has been screaming about and JB Pritzker has been whining and crying about. And last I saw, he called for Trump to be removed from office because of what's happening there. This guy is completely clueless. After letting illegal aliens invade his state, he's mad that ICE is removing them. And that brings us to this video. So we're going to be looking at two videos here having to do with a raid, a residential raid that happened, where an apartment building filled with Venezuelans, illegals, and also a bunch of Tren de Aragua gang members was raided by one of the ICE teams here, led by Greg Bevino, who is also in Chicago right now. And that's what we're going to be looking at here. So I cannot wait for this stuff to happen in California. 2 months ago, I believe, I covered a video where a bunch of residential houses were raided and illegals were arrested, but we haven't had that much in California. We need a lot more, especially in where I live. There's a lot of illegals here who have houses. They own homes. It's not just apartment buildings, okay? Although a lot of apartment buildings here have, it's Los Angeles, so of course, a ton of apartment buildings have been completely taken over by illegal Hispanics here, mostly Mexicans and others. But in this case, we're going to be looking at some Venezuelans who also were dropped in over here.
And this is one of the largest operations we've seen here in Chicago since the increased immigration arrests started earlier this month. Dozens of federal agents swarmed this apartment complex in the South Shore neighborhood.
Well, tonight, NBC5 Investigates has learned U.S. citizens were among those temporarily detained during this large-scale operation. Investigative reporter Bennett Haverly joining us in studio tonight with what he's found out. Bennett.
Allison and Stefan, we are still trying to pin down the exact number of people who may have been detained or arrested, but two tenants we interviewed described hearing a helicopter, flashbangs, and dozens of agents entering the building and demanding that everyone get out. Chicago's FBI office confirms its agents served a supporting role for Border Patrol agents conducting this latest immigration enforcement operation. This video from the Citizen app overnight along 75th and South Shore Avenue shows dozens of federal agents lining the streets near this apartment complex. Swept up in the raid, at least 2 U.S. citizens who told us everyone in the building, which amounts to dozens of tenants, were all temporarily detained until immigration agents could verify their identities.
Once I went in the hallway, it was a bunch of people in green and they just was, lay it down, you have to go to the front. And they made everybody go to the front. Everybody went to the front and they detained us. They put us in the little...
So to be clear, these two people, the citizens that were detained, that was not for immigration reasons. That was just to clear the building, okay? Because when you're going door to door looking for Tren de Aragua criminals, which is what they were looking for, multiple targets were reported to be here that were gangsters, plus all the other Venezuelan illegals that you'll hear about from this guy. They were looking for criminals. So they wanted to clear the building before they actually detained people to take them away. These two black people who were detained, they were not detained because of immigration reasons. Okay, they were detained because of the fact that they happened to be in a building filled with Venezuelan criminals, okay, and illegals. So that's the reason they were detained, okay? It's very inconvenient, but nevertheless, they were released because like I always tell you, ICE cannot arrest American citizens, or they can, but there's no point because they can't do anything with them. They're citizens. So there's no point in ICE arresting citizens other than to like temporarily detain them and then release them once they're cleared. But other than that, the only people they're looking to arrest are people who have invaded this country illegally and violated our federal immigration laws. Everybody else is safe.
And they just took our information.
Isaiah Johnson says he was detained for nearly 2 hours on the sidewalk before being let go. Who got taken away?
That's very inconvenient, I admit. But again, you're living in a building filled with criminals. So they have to clear the building and then find out who the criminals are. And eventually they were released. But nevertheless, I get their frustration.
Who got taken away?
Most of the Venezuelans.
Do you know how many of them got arrested?
No,
Dozens of people were arrested in this building. As of the recording of this video, I still don't have an exact number for you guys because they haven't come up with numbers, but dozens of people were. This is a huge building. It is a pretty big residential building.
No, it was a lot of them.
Johnson said he got along with most of the Venezuelan migrants who live here. He said they helped him repair his dishwasher, but not everyone agrees. Takesha Clark says her interactions were less positive, alleging that new arrivals caused damage to the building. These images obtained by NBC5 Investigates, courtesy of the Invisible Institute, showed
This is what they do when they come here. The places that they live in end up looking like the crap holes that they came from. Okay, this looks like a house in Venezuela or a hut in Venezuela that they might have come from. The third worlders make America look like the third world when they live there. They're dirty, they damage everything, and they make everything look disgusting. They live like they did in Venezuela. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem. No English spoken, obviously. And this guy said that the reason he liked them was because they fix his dishwasher. Really? That's your reasoning? You don't care about the fact that they invaded your country. You only care that they were of use to you. They fix some of your things, and you determine they're good people because of that. That's a ridiculous standard, I have to say. Okay, that shows that you don't value your country at all. And you think just because they're nice people, they get to invade your house. That is ridiculous. Okay, and I hope most Americans don't think like that.
your take on this enhanced immigration enforcement that we've seen here in Chicago?
I don't like the way that they did it. I'm happy as hell that they got them up out the building, but I don't like the way they came and did it.
What is it about the manner in which they did it you don't like?
Because us Americans, we didn't have nothing to do with it. We didn't bring the Venezuelans over here, they did.
Since August of...
Fair enough. Look, I guess she's frustrated, but again, you're living in a building filled with criminals and illegals. So the ICE agents have to do their process and go through the process of tracking them down and arresting the proper people. And that takes time. That's why you were detained. But again, they were released because they're Americans.
2022, more than 50,000 migrants arrived in Chicago, most of whom were bused or flown here by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. But following the closure of the city's migrant shelter system last fall, an untold number resettled in the South Shore area. Tuesday's operation appears to be the largest show of force we've seen since the Trump administration began its increased enforcement efforts here earlier this month.
If Sunday's stroll by Border Patrol downtown was mostly show, this raid in South Shore proved they also go. With a helicopter circling overhead, heavily armed agents stormed an apartment building. Inside, they went door to door in what Border Patrol describes as a targeted operation.
They went through that structure, which is a very large structure. You can see it's 5 stories. They went through that structure a lot quicker than I thought, and several apprehensions. It looks like we have a couple of potential targets that we briefed earlier today that we were after.
Immigration authorities have not released specific charging information against anyone taken into custody, which is why we've blurred their faces. The mission commander says their targets were members of the Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua, but he acknowledges some U.S. citizens were briefly detained.
We generally don't determine alienage while we're in that building, clearing the building. It's too dangerous, so we'll bring them out and do it in a safe environment. It's safer for the United States citizens and safer for the illegal aliens, and most of all, safer for our officers. We're not violating the rights, we're making it safe for them so that they can live in a safe and secure neighborhood. And, there's no rights been violated today, just the saving of lives.
The man running the show is Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino.
So yeah, I cannot wait for them to do more of this stuff here, because we need some of those raids where I live, specifically in Los Angeles, and also all over California, because they have invaded this state as well. Not Venezuelans, mostly Mexicans here, but specific places have groups that have invaded. Like, so Michigan has problems with a certain religious group, and how many of them have come in, as other parts have Haitians to worry about, other parts have Guatemalans and Venezuelans, and you name it. Okay, and different parts of the country have different problems with different groups. Okay, and California, obviously being next to Mexico, we have a Mexican problem. So that's what we got here, where it's wall-to-wall Mexicans in almost every single neighborhood. There's barely any white people left here, or black people, and almost nobody speaks English. Okay, including where I live here. Okay, now around me, there's a lot of foundational Americans, let's put it that way. But in the block next to me, it's wall-to-wall, like wall-to-wall Spanish, no English spoken. So we need these raids here. Okay, I need more of these to happen here. Okay, and if you know where the illegals are, if you know any businesses, or if you know any areas where there's a collection of these people, report it to ICE. There's a tip line for a reason. Call them and let them know where you are and where the suspected illegal activity is, and they will do research, they will investigate, and if necessary, they will do a raid. Okay, they actually do listen to the public. Most likely this building was raided because of a public tip that was given by an American who's sick of living with these illegals or living next to them. Okay, so they act on public information. ICE does. They can't do everything themselves. They don't have enough people to, just go around looking for them. So us American citizens have to help them hunt down the illegals. And you're doing your patriotic duty to secure this country and to make sure that people who are vetted, people who we know about, are the only ones who can come in, not random people who decide that they can break in here, which is what the Democrats and many other, even some Republicans, have allowed in the past, including Bush, and going back all the way to Clinton and Carter and Reagan. Okay, so this is a long-standing problem that we're trying to clean up. But anyways, that's all I got to say for this video. So happy to see this. I want the same stuff happening in California. I look forward to that. But for now, that's all I got to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you guys in my next video.